Tonight, we unravel a chilling story that shook a small town to its core. A young woman, known only as Jane Doe, was found in circumstances so mysterious, they left detectives puzzled for months. Stay with us as we uncover every clue, every secret, and every shocking revelation behind her untimely death. Make sure to watch until the end, you won't believe what we discovered. The morning of May 12th began like any other in the quiet town of Cedarville. Residents went about their routines, children walked to school, and shopkeepers opened their doors. But the peace shattered when a jogger stumbled upon a lifeless body in the woods near Maple Creek. The woman was young, her identity unknown, and no identification was found on her. Only a torn jacket and a small, worn notebook hinted at who she might have been. Police cordoned off the area immediately, bringing in forensic teams to collect evidence. The discovery raised more questions than answers. Why had someone left her body there, and who was she? Witnesses reported seeing a strange van parked near the woods days before, but no one could provide a clear description. Every angle seemed to lead to a dead end, and the clock was ticking. As word spread through the town, the media descended, calling her the Maple Creek Jane Doe. The case quickly captured the nation's attention, but despite extensive investigations, no leads emerged.
Are y'all ready for something?
The absence of a name made her tragedy even more haunting. People were left asking, how did someone so young end up in such a lonely, abandoned place, and who could commit such a cold, calculated act? The autopsy revealed a grim reality: Jane had suffered before her death. Trauma indicated she had been restrained, and there were signs of a struggle that suggested she fought for her life. Yet, there were no fingerprints, no obvious traces of her attacker, and nothing that immediately led investigators to a suspect. Every detail seemed deliberately hidden, almost as if the perpetrator wanted to erase all evidence. Forensic experts delved deeper into the notebook found beside her, discovering cryptic notes, fragments of poetry, and a few phone numbers scribbled hastily on torn pages. Each detail hinted at a private life filled with secrets, someone who might have been desperate or running from something. It was the first glimmer of hope in an otherwise dark investigation. Maybe these small fragments could help unlock her identity. Detectives began a painstaking cross-reference with missing persons reports across the state. Days turned into weeks, and the pressure to find answers intensified. Social media began buzzing with theories, from an accidental death to a meticulously planned crime. In the shadows, the killer might have been watching the news, confident that Jane Doe would remain just a name, a mystery, a ghost in Cedarville. Detectives decided to revisit the crime scene, combing the woods with new technology. Drones scanned from above, and forensic dogs retraced every step of Jane Doe's final hours. It was during this painstaking search that they uncovered a small, hidden trail of footprints, partially obscured by leaves. The prints were unusual. Some pointed to the woods, others toward the main road, almost as if someone had staged her path to confuse investigators. Meanwhile, the local community was struggling with fear and paranoia. Residents recalled seeing a man near the creek weeks earlier, describing him as out of place, someone who didn't belong in the tight-knit town. Yet when authorities followed up, the witness couldn't provide a solid identification. Every lead seemed fleeting, slipping through the investigators' fingers like smoke. As the investigation deepened, Jane Doe's story began to humanize in the public's eyes. People imagined her life, her dreams, and the possibilities cut short. Letters poured in from viewers across the country who wanted to help, offering tips, leads, and even sightings that sometimes led nowhere. Her anonymity made her story both haunting and universal, a stark reminder that real horror can strike anywhere. A breakthrough came when forensic labs discovered DNA traces under Jane Doe's fingernails. It hinted at a struggle with her attacker, and soon detectives were able to identify partial matches in criminal databases. The results reignited hope, giving the investigation a tangible lead after months of frustration. The town, which had begun to lose faith, held its breath. Could justice finally be within reach? Parallel to this, detectives scoured her notebook for any digital clues. Hidden among seemingly random numbers were traces of email addresses and social media handles. Using cyberforensics, investigators pieced together fragments of her life. A young woman who had been reaching out for help, someone who had felt isolated, but whose messages never reached the ears of those who could protect her. The realization was heartbreaking. Jane Doe had tried to fight her fate, leaving breadcrumbs for someone, anyone, to find. But her story was one of isolation, secrecy, and tragedy, a puzzle that only the dedication of tireless investigators could hope to solve. Each clue brought them closer, yet also painted a chilling portrait of the danger she had faced. The local media began publishing details about Jane Doe's life before the tragedy, discovering that she had recently moved to Cedarville from a neighboring city. She had a small circle of friends and no known enemies. Some described her as quiet, reserved, but with an underlying strength and independence. Whoever had harmed her had targeted someone careful, someone unsuspecting, someone the town now mourned deeply. Interviews with residents revealed chilling inconsistencies. A neighbor recalled strange noises the night she disappeared. Another spoke of a van repeatedly parked near her home. Investigators combined these accounts with their forensic evidence, slowly reconstructing a timeline of her final hours. The puzzle was intricate, every piece crucial. Suspense heightened as the team realized the killer may have been someone who had known her personally, someone who blended seamlessly into her surroundings. The revelation sent shockwaves through the community. Anyone could have been hiding a sinister secret behind an ordinary face. It was a truth that nobody wanted to accept, but it was the reality the detectives had to confront. Authorities received a tip from an anonymous caller that pointed toward a suspect with a troubling history. The person had been linked to similar incidents in other towns but had never been caught. A surge of urgency overtook the investigation as detectives began tracking every movement, every connection. It became a race against time, catching the suspect before more lives were at risk. As they closed in, more disturbing details emerged. Jane Doe had made efforts to protect herself, possibly trying to escape, but her attacker had been methodical. Each discovery painted the killer as calculating, someone who had studied her movements, exploited her vulnerabilities, and executed a crime designed to evade detection. For the investigators, it became personal. Each lead they chased carried the weight of a life lost, and the pressure was immense. The town watched as authorities worked tirelessly, the suspense of each breakthrough and setback magnifying the emotional stakes. Jane Doe was no longer just a mystery, she was a symbol of a community's fear and resilience. A search of digital evidence revealed a series of late-night messages Jane had sent to a trusted friend. She had expressed anxiety, fear, and suspicion that someone was following her. The notes were cryptic but alarming, hinting at threats that had gone unnoticed. Each message was a cry for help, a desperate attempt to be heard, and now they became critical pieces of the case. Detectives used these digital breadcrumbs to map her last known locations, reconstructing the chilling final movements of Jane Doe. Security cameras along her route provided blurry images, but patterns emerged, repeated sightings of the same vehicle, subtle but undeniable. The pieces of the puzzle were finally starting to fit together. The public followed the investigation closely, holding their breath as each revelation came to light. Social media exploded with speculation, theories, and support for the young woman who had suffered such injustice. Jane Doe's story had captured hearts, her tragedy igniting a collective desire to see justice served. Investigators narrowed down a suspect, a man with a criminal past who had recently moved to Cedarville. Surveillance, phone records, and witness accounts painted a damning picture. Every detail corroborated the suspicion, and the team prepared to make an arrest. The tension was unbearable. One wrong move could allow the perpetrator to vanish forever. In the hours leading to the arrest, detectives worked around the clock, coordinating resources and ensuring every angle was covered. The town's anxiety reached a fever pitch. Residents waited outside their homes, glued to news updates, hoping that the nightmare might finally end. When authorities finally moved in, the suspect's home revealed shocking evidence, a collection of items connected to Jane Doe, confirming the suspicions. The arrest brought relief, but also sorrow, as the investigation reminded everyone of the violence Jane had endured and the precious life cut tragically short. Court proceedings began, offering a glimpse into the horrifying details of the crime. Witnesses testified, forensic experts explained their findings, and the suspect's behavior shocked everyone in the courtroom. The story of Jane Doe unfolded in public for the first time, layer by layer, revealing a life filled with fear, resilience, and the quiet courage of someone who had fought until the very end. Family members and the community followed the trial, grappling with grief and anger. While justice seemed imminent, it could never undo the loss, the trauma, or the lingering questions that haunted every resident. Yet, there was solace in knowing the perpetrator could no longer harm anyone else. The trial's outcome would become a testament to perseverance and the relentless pursuit of truth. Jane Doe's story, once anonymous, became a beacon for victims everywhere, a reminder that even in darkness, those who fight for justice can make a difference. The verdict finally arrived, bringing both closure and sorrow. The suspect was convicted, but the emotional impact of Jane Doe's death lingered in the town and in the hearts of those who followed the case. Her story reminded everyone how fragile life can be and how important it is to remain vigilant and compassionate toward those who may be suffering in silence. In the aftermath, memorials were held, and her community came together, honoring the young woman who had been lost too soon. Jane Doe had remained anonymous for months, but her courage, her struggles, and her story had left an indelible mark. She had become more than a case, she had become a symbol. As we remember Jane Doe, we encourage you to stay aware, protect one another, and speak up when you see someone in danger. If her story moved you, if it reminded you of the fragility of life, subscribe to our channel for more true crime cases, and together, let's ensure that no story is forgotten.